Before today's video starts, we want to take a minute to talk about our amazing sponsor, The Ridge. For as long as I can remember, I've been using the same old leather wallet that I think my mother gave me. The wallet was boring, and I always stuffed it with junk that I didn't need. But lately, I've been using a wallet from The Ridge that is made from carbon fiber, and I love it. And I'm not the only one who loves The Ridge's wallets. They have over 30,000 5-star reviews. Their wallets have a sleek, minimalist design, so they are easy to carry and use. Besides carbon fiber, they have wallets made from aluminum and titanium, and they have dozens of different designs and colors. The wallet also has RFID blocking, so I feel comfortable storing all my important cards in it. So if you're looking for a thoughtful Valentine's Day gift that is also practical and looks cool, you have to check out The Ridge. Right now, The Ridge is offering criminally listed viewers 10% off with free worldwide shipping and returns. Just go to ridge.com/listed, that's ridge.com/listed, and use the code LISTED in the description. Improve the way you carry your money and your cards and help support Criminally Listed by going to ridge.com/listed. Number 3. Seath Jackson. In the spring of 2011, Seath Jackson was 15 years old and he was living in Summerfield, Florida. On the afternoon of April 19, 2011, Seath's parents realized that he was missing. The night before, he went to his best friend's home. But that afternoon, his best friend called, looking for him. Seath's best friend said that while Seath was at his house, he got a phone call from his ex-girlfriend. After Seath got the phone call, he left to go meet up with his ex-girlfriend. That was the last time his friend saw or heard from him. Seath's parents reported him missing, and detectives began to look for him. One of the first places they turned to was Facebook. They learned that in December 2010, Seath started dating 15-year-old Amber Wright. But in late March 2011, Wright broke it off with Seath. Seath thought that the breakup came out of nowhere and he was distraught. Soon, Seath and Wright were feuding on Facebook. For several weeks, they publicly fought and insulted each other on the social media platform. Seath also started a feud with 17-year-old Kyle Hooper and 18-year-old Michael Bargo. Hooper was Amber Wright's brother, and he did not appreciate the way that Seath talked to his sister on Facebook. Michael Bargo was Wright's new boyfriend. Seath was sure that Wright had dumped him to go out with Bargo. The Facebook posting seemed to indicate that at some point, Seath and Bargo got into a physical fight at a party. Seath, who was 15, won the fight against 18-year-old Bargo. Bargo thought of himself as a tough guy, and he was humiliated by the defeat. After the fight, the war of words on Facebook escalated. Based on the Facebook postings, the police thought that a good person to talk to was Amber Wright, Seath's ex-girlfriend. When the police arrived at Wright's home, she was there with her friend, Charlie Ellie. Wright and Ellie both said that they saw Seath the night before. The detectives separated them and asked them about their encounter with Seath. They gave two very different stories. Ellie said that she and Wright were standing with Seath on a street corner near her home. Then suddenly, there was a loud bang and Seath ran away. Ellie said she looked around and she saw Michael Bargo with a gun. She said she thought that Seath might have been shot. Amber Wright told the police something completely different. She said that they had bumped into Seath, talked to him for a few minutes, but then he left. Wright said she assumed that he went home. When Wright was asked if Bargo was there and if Seath was shot, she said that none of that happened. She said she had no idea what Ellie was talking about. The detectives continued to investigate, but no trace of Seath was found that night. The next morning, Amber Wright's mother called the police department. She said that her son and Amber's brother, Kyle Hooper, had some information about Seath's disappearance. The police had her bring both of her children to the police station. Charlie Ellie was also brought in for questioning. Kyle Hooper was questioned first. Kyle said that 2 nights earlier, they were hanging out at Charlie Ellie's house and Seath was there. Then he said that Bargo surprised everyone by shooting Seath 3 times. Then, Ellie and Wright were interviewed. They said that Michael Bargo was the one who killed Seath and they were innocent bystanders. After they were interviewed, Hooper, Wright, and Ellie were put into a room together and they were left alone. They had no idea that they were being recorded. They talked openly about the murder of Seath, and it was clear that they had lied to the detectives. They talked about their involvement in the murder from the planning stages. It turned out that Michael Bargo wanted to kill Seath. Since everyone else disliked Seath because of what he said on Facebook, they agreed to help. The police continued to investigate Seath's disappearance, and they were able to trace his last steps. Then Kyle Hooper made a full confession, and he filled in the rest of the gaps about what happened that night. The night started off with Amber Wright luring Seath to Charlie Ellie's house with a promise of reconciliation. What Seath didn't know was that Wright's brother, Kyle Hooper, Wright's new boyfriend, Michael Bargo, and their friend, Justin Soto, were there waiting for him. When Seath got inside, Hooper, Bargo, and Soto attacked him with blunt wooden instruments. Seath tried to run away, and Bargo shot him twice in the back with a rifle. Seath managed to keep running, so Soto tackled him. Soto held Seath down as Bargo shot him again, this time in the back of the head. Then they dragged Seath upstairs and put him in the bathtub. They wanted to stuff his body into a sleeping bag, but his body wouldn't fit. So they tried breaking his knees. Then they realized that Seath was still alive. Bargo delivered the kill shot to Seath's head as he laid in the tub. Then his body was dismembered, and the body parts were thrown into a bonfire in the backyard that they had started earlier. A few hours later, they put his ashes into paint cans. Bargo then called his friend, 37-year-old James Haven. Haven helped Bargo throw the ashes into a water-filled quarry. Haven then dropped Bargo off at a friend's home in a different town. The police searched Ellie's backyard and they found a fire pit. In the fire pit, they found human bone fragments. On April 21, 2011, 4 days after the murder, 18-year-old Michael Bargo, 16-year-old Kyle Hooper, 20-year-old Justin Soto, 15-year-old Amber Wright, and 18-year-old Charlie Ellie were all arrested and charged with first-degree murder. 37-year-old James Haven was later arrested for being an accessory after the fact. Between September 2011 and June 2012, Wright, Hooper, Ellie, and Soto were all convicted of first-degree murder, and they were all sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. Michael Bargo, who the police said was the mastermind of the brutal murder, was convicted in August 2013. He was sentenced to death in December of that year. Bargo's lawyer appealed his death sentence. The appeals court decided to let him be resentenced because the jury had not unanimously agreed to sentence Bargo to death. They had voted 10-2 for the death penalty. In September 2019, a judge sentenced Michael Bargo to death once again. Friends and family of Seath Jackson, along with the residents of Central Florida, were shocked that an online feud could have spiraled into such a brutal murder. Number 2. Joyce Winsie Howe. In early 2012, Joyce Howe, who went by the name Winsie, was 15 years old and she was living in Arnhem, Netherlands. On January 13, 2012, Winsie was at home with her father and her younger brother. Their doorbell rang and her brother answered the door. Standing in the doorway was a young man in his early teens that her brother didn't recognize. The visitor asked to see Winsie. When Winsie came to the door, the young man said, "I'm sorry, but I have to do this." He then pulled out a knife and started stabbing Winsie in the face and the neck. Winsie's father, Sire Chun Nam Howe, tried to stop the attack. The young man attacked him with the knife. He cut Sire on the face and the neck. Then the young man ran off. Help was called for, and Sire and Winsie were taken to the hospital. Sire survived his wounds, but his face was left scarred. Winsie, who was just 15, lived for 5 more days before she succumbed to her injuries. Their attacker was arrested not long after he ran away from their home. He was only identified as 14-year-old Jinhua K. Jinhua confessed to committing the attack. He said that he didn't even know Winsie. He told the police he had just been ordered to kill her. Jinhua was friends with a couple who were only identified as Polly W., who was 16, and Wesley C., who was 17 years old. Polly and Winsie had been close friends. But several weeks before the murder, they had gotten into a fight at a party. In the wake of the fight, Winsie started badmouthing Polly on Facebook. Winsie had also posted some stories about things that Polly had supposedly done with boys. The Facebook comments made Polly furious, and she convinced her boyfriend, Wesley, that Winsie needed to die. They decided to get their friend Jinhua to commit the actual murder. From a young age, Jinhua had severe behavioral problems. Over several weeks on the phone and on Facebook, Wesley and Polly planned the murder with Jinhua. They even discussed killing Winsie's entire family, but they settled on just killing Winsie. Polly and Wesley told Jinhua that if he killed Winsie, they would pay him. There are different reports on exactly how much they were going to pay him. The figure ranges from 20 euros to 150 euros, which is about 22 American dollars to 165 American dollars. Wesley and Polly also told Jinhua that they would pay for drinks the next time they went out. Supposedly, Jinhua was excited that he was going to kill Winsie. He had told some peers that he planned on killing a girl, but no one took him seriously. On the day of the murder, Polly and Wesley gave Jinhua a note that had Winsie's address on it, and they told him when she would be home. Jinhua said that Polly and Wesley told him that he had to kill Winsie or they would kill him. So Jinhua said that he went to Winsie's home and he stabbed her. After Jinhua confessed, Polly and Wesley were arrested for orchestrating the murder. Jinhua went to trial first in August 2012, about 8 months after the murder. Jinhua's lawyer argued that Jinhua was afraid for his life, and that's why he killed Winsie. But the judges concluded that since the murders had been planned over several weeks, Jinhua had plenty of time to seek out help. Jinhua, who was 14 years old when he committed the murder, was sentenced to 1 year in a youth detention center and 3 years in a psychiatric facility. Winsie's father, who was left scarred from the attack, was not surprised by the sentence, but he was saddened by it. He said, "I lost my daughter, and he gets a year in jail. That difference is very big." Polly and Wesley, who were 16 and 17 respectively at the time of the murder, were tried together a few weeks after Jinhua's trial. They were convicted and sentenced to the maximum for juveniles, 2 years in a youth detention center, plus 3 years of psychiatric treatment. The psychiatric sentences could be extended if any of the three were deemed unfit to be released. All three were released in 2017, 5 years after the murder. In May 2018, Jinhua K, who was 21, was arrested in connection with a series of armed robberies. His arrest came about 7 months after he was released because he had been deemed a low-risk offender. The result of his arrest has not been made public. Joyce Winsie House murder was dubbed a Facebook murder in the media, and it made headlines across Europe. The age of the perpetrator shocked the citizens of the Netherlands, and parents began to question the role of social media in their children's lives. Number 1. Chris Marquis. In the spring of 1998, Chris Marquis was 17 years old, and he lived with his mother, Sheila Rockwell, in the small town of Fairhaven, Vermont. They lived in a small house that was about 100 feet from the police station. Marquis had a passion for CB radios. He collected high-end equipment, which was often paid for by his mother. Marquis had a vision disorder, which made him legally blind at night. As he got older, his vision got worse. It was expected that one day he would be totally blind. Since her son was losing his vision, Rockwell felt justified spoiling him, so she paid for the CB radio equipment. Many people wondered how Rockwell could afford to buy the thousands of dollars of radio equipment because she was unemployed. There were rumors that she and Marquis were prolific shoplifters. In January 1998, both Rockwell and Marquis were arrested while they were shoplifting in a department store. That was the only time that they were arrested, and Rockwell said it was an isolated incident. She said she had no idea that her son, who was 17, was shoplifting at the same time as her. Chris Marquis was well known in the CB radio community in his area. Because of the quality of his equipment, Marquis' signals were far-reaching. Marquis was also a bit notorious on the airwaves because of his behavior. He used his powerful equipment to troll other people on the CB radio waves. He would often mock, annoy, and insult other users. Truckers had their own channel, and Marquis would harass them as well. Chris Marquis also liked to use the internet. He would post on message boards and in news groups, and he used the instant messaging platform ICQ. In real life, Marquis did not have many friends. A former classmate said that one reason he was disliked was because he was always bad-mouthing everyone he knew on the CB radio airwaves. Marquis had apparently been beaten up several times by classmates. He eventually dropped out of high school. Even though Marquis didn't have many friends, he did have a girlfriend. Her name was Cindy, and she lived just over the state line in Whitehall, New York. They had met on the CB radio airwaves. After their initial contact, they were in constant communication. They met in real life after talking for about a year and a half. After meeting in person, they continued to date, and they would often meet at a McDonald's between their homes. March 19, 1998 was a gray, cloudy day. At about 3 o'clock that afternoon, a UPS delivery man knocked on Rockwell Marquis' front door. Rockwell answered the door, and the delivery man handed her the package. The return address was Samantha Brown, 1863 South High Street, Bucyrus, Ohio. Rockwell did not recognize the name or the address. But it was not unusual for her son to get packages from people she didn't know. Marquis ran a small business out of their home where he traded, sold, and repaired CB radio equipment. Rockwell brought the package to Marquis, who was in his bedroom. Marquis was doing what he usually did during his waking hours, which was talking to his girlfriend on his CB radio. Rockwell handed her son the package, and he read the return address. He also did not know who Samantha Brown was. Marquis opened the package, and there was a smaller styrofoam box inside of it. Just before Marquis opened the styrofoam box, his girlfriend joked that it was probably a bomb. Then suddenly, the pipe bomb inside the styrofoam box exploded. The police chief, who was in the police headquarters, which was about 100 feet from Rockwell and Marquis' home, heard the explosion, and he ran to the scene. He found the mother and son inside Marquis' destroyed bedroom. They were both badly injured and taken to the hospital. Rockwell lost her pinky and the tops of the rest of her fingers on her right hand. Her right kneecap was blown off. She ultimately survived her injuries. The explosion severed 17-year-old Chris Marquis' femoral artery. He ended up bleeding to death. The police thought that the case would be difficult to solve. Why would anyone want to kill a 17-year-old loner? The most obvious clues to investigate were the package that contained the bomb and the bomb itself. But neither clue pointed in the direction of a suspect. The return address was fake. There is no South High Street in Bucyrus, Ohio. Nor was there a record of a Samantha Brown living in Bucyrus. It turned out that the package had been shipped from a UPS depot in Mansfield, Ohio. But the police could not find any way to connect Marquis to Mansfield. The remnants of the pipe bomb did not contain any immediate clues either. It was made using materials that could be found in any hardware store or gun shop. Then the police looked at what Chris Marquis was doing online. To most people that Marquis met online, he wasn't a 17-year-old high school dropout with no friends. Instead, Marquis told people that he was 27, he was married, had a daughter, and he ran a business called the CB Shack. Often, Marquis would make business deals online. But Marquis was not always honest in his business dealings. Sometimes, when he sold or traded a piece of equipment, he would not send the item he had promised to send. Instead, he would send them something that wasn't nearly as valuable. As a result, several users on news groups and message boards that Marquis frequented had posted warnings advising other users not to deal with him. For example, 3 days before the murder, someone with the username NCTomcat posted this response to one of the warnings. "I am posting ads about that crook all over the internet. The address I have is Washington Street, Fairhaven, Vermont. Don't mail this liar any money or you'll be poorer but wiser. If I can find someone to pay the two-way airfare, I will go there and collect everyone's money back and give him some serious dental problems to deal with. Are you listening, Chris? When you see a 6-foot, 5-inch dark-haired man at your door, you better duck, cause I will be about to drop them all on you noggin dude." The police asked Chris Marquis' mother, Sheila Rockwell, if anyone had recently threatened her son. She said that he had been having trouble with a guy from Indiana. In Marquis' bedroom, near his computer, the police found a piece of paper with the address of a man named Christopher Dean, who lived in Preston, Indiana. In Marquis' wallet, which was in his pants when the bomb exploded, was a UPS tracking number for a package that he had sent to Dean less than 3 weeks before the murder. Hours after the bombing, one of Christopher Dean's friends got in contact with the police. The friend said that Dean had been complaining that some guy in Vermont had ripped him off. He also said that he knew that Dean had recently searched the internet for instructions on how to make a pipe bomb. Also, 5 days before the murder, Dean told his friend he was going to send the guy in Vermont a surprise in the mail. The friend said he did not go to the police earlier because he did not think that Dean would really send a bomb through the mail. The police learned that Dean was a truck driver. On the day the bomb was mailed for Mansfield, Dean was in Mansfield making a delivery. Also, if you drive from Pearson to Mansfield, you pass by Bucyrus, Ohio, which was the city on the return address. The police got a search warrant for Christopher Dean's home. They found a mountain of evidence. This included a site on his property where there had been an explosion. They found fragments of a pipe bomb that was very similar to the bomb that killed Chris Marquis. The police thought that this bomb was a prototype. Brass hex nuts were packed into the bomb that killed Marquis. The same brass hex nuts were found in Dean's home. The police also found wires and lengths of pipes that were similar to the ones used in the bomb. One of the most damning things that they found was an open pack of 9-volt batteries, and one battery was missing. A Duracell 9-volt battery had been used in the bomb that killed Marquis. At the time, Duracell imprinted lot numbers on all their batteries. The lot number indicated the date and the assembly line that the battery was manufactured. Using the lot number, the police were able to determine that the battery in the bomb came from the same package of batteries found in Christopher Dean's home. Another massively damaging piece of evidence was found on Dean's computer. It was a printing template for address labels, and 2 of the labels had been filled in. One was filled in with Chris Marquis' address, and the other was the fictional address that was used as the return address. Then, a UPS employee in Mansfield identified Christopher Dean as the man who dropped off the package at the depot. Also, the bomber had filled out a slip to send the package. A handwriting expert compared the handwriting on the slip to Dean's handwriting, and he concluded that Dean had filled out the slip. Finally, it turned out that Christopher Dean was NC Tomcat, the user who posted that he wanted to beat up Marquis 3 days before he was killed. What the police were unsure about was what was the motive. Marquis did rip him off, but why kill him? Why didn't Dean just go to the police? Why didn't he sue Marquis in small claims court? The reason why Dean didn't legally go after Marquis came from one of Marquis' few associates, Mark Hutzinger. Hutzinger owned a CB radio and computer shop in Middlebury, Vermont. Hutzinger said that Marquis had confided in him that he had made a fantastic deal with Christopher Dean. Dean was going to send him a piece of equipment that was worth about $800, and Marquis was supposed to send him a piece of equipment worth about $400. But Marquis did not even do that. Instead, he sent Dean a piece of equipment that was much cheaper. Hutzinger thought that the original deal was odd, because why would Dean trade an item for another item that was half its value? After Dean was arrested, his wife had the owner of the local CB radio shop come over and appraise Dean's equipment. It turned out that months before, the man's shop had been robbed. The thief, or thieves, were never arrested, and the stolen items had not been recovered. As the shop owner was examining Dean's CB radio equipment, he realized he was looking at some of the merchandise that had been stolen from his shop months earlier. The police concluded that Dean was trading the stolen items at a loss online because he would be getting equipment that wasn't stolen in return. But then Chris Marquis ripped him off, and he couldn't go to the police because he had sent Marquis a stolen piece of equipment. So Dean decided to get his revenge by killing him with a pipe bomb. Christopher Dean was confident that he'd never be caught. When Chris Marquis was killed, he was 750 miles away in a different state. In fact, Dean had never set foot in Vermont in his life. Also, Dean had never met Marquis before. Had they physically bumped into each other in real life, they would have had no idea who each other was. Dean was not aware that Marquis was just 17 years old. So while Dean thought he had committed the perfect crime, he was arrested less than 30 hours after the bomb exploded. In September 1999, Christopher Dean agreed to a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to several charges, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole, instead of being condemned to death row. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos just like it. Also, please check out criminalist.com where you can suggest cases, buy merch, and find out about an exclusive podcast. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/criminallylisted. Finally, if you're commenting on this video or responding to other comments, be excellent to each other. Thanks again for watching.